Here's what's coming up on Network Africa today. Haiti police chief in Kenya ahead of forced deployment. Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni claims hundreds of ADF fighters killed in Uganda strikes. Plus, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa meets Jewish leaders. And welcome to the program. I'm Anne Mwawada from Lagos, and we start with the news that Haitian Police Chief Franz Elbe is in Kenya for a 3-day visit ahead of plans to deploy police to help fight gang violence in the Caribbean country. He and his delegation met the Kenyan Police Chief Japhet Koome and other senior security officials on Wednesday for bilateral security discussions. Well, that visit is part of the preparations for the deployment of more than 1,000 police officers from Kenya for the controversial multinational mission to help support security, and the UN approved this 2 months ago. And according to privately owned newspaper The Star, the first contingent of about 300 officers is supposed to move out by February next year. Just last month, the Kenyan parliament approved the deployment, but a high court extended orders barring this move pending the outcome of a legal challenge into this plan. Well, the plan has now faced widespread criticism, mainly due to poor record of previous interventions in Haiti and, of course, a record of human rights abuses by Kenyan police. About 300 gangs are active across Haiti, and 80% of the capital, Port-au-Prince, is also under gang control. Ugandan troops have killed about 200 ADF fighters in the Democratic Republic of Congo as the military operations to flush out the Islamic State group-affiliated militants continue. And giving this news on X, Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni added that Ugandan forces have been carrying out attacks on the terrorists in Congo, and the feat was achieved in September. He also says that more strikes against the fighters have been carried out since then. And back in 2021, Uganda and DR Congo launched a joint military offensive against the ADF in eastern DR Congo, but the group still carries out attacks in both countries. In October this year, 2 tourists, a British man and a South African woman on their honeymoon, as well as their guide, were killed while on safari in Uganda's Queen Elizabeth National Park, and the Islamic State group claimed responsibility for that attack. The second Tanzanian student who has been missing in Israel since October has been confirmed dead. Joshua Molel traveled to Israel in mid-September as an agricultural intern and had not since been seen on October the 7th when dozens of residents were massacred in the kibbutz Nahal Oz. But Tanzanian foreign official in January, Makamba, says that Israeli authorities have confirmed that Mr. Molel was killed the day he was taken hostage by Hamas gunmen. Mr. Makamba added that Joshua's father, Moito Molel, has been notified about the death of his son, and the government is planning to take him and another family member down to Israel to get more information on the matter, although authorities in Kibbutz region say that Mr. Molel's body has been held by Hamas. Meanwhile, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has doubled down on the country's support for Palestinians in the ongoing war with Israel while speaking out against anti-Semitism. He made these assertions during a meeting with the Jewish lobby group. In that meeting, South African Jewish Board of Disputes deputies asked President Ramaphosa to protect the community from this problem. He also requested Mr. Ramaphosa to restore full diplomatic recognition of Israel, including reopening the South Africa embassy in Tel Aviv and preventing the closure of Israel's embassy in Pretoria. They further asked Mr. Ramaphosa to speak or act against the boycott of Israel and Jewish businesses in South Africa. Let's speak with Channels Television's Innocent Samosa for more on the story. Hello, Innocent. Thank you for joining us virtually from South Africa. That's where Innocent is speaking from.
Hello, Anne. It's good to see you. Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be in your company.
All right, good to see you too. Can you tell us, is there open hostility against Jews there in South Africa, remembering the call made to the president to end that?
Well, and I think it's important to remind our viewers that South Africa is home to Africa's largest Jewish community, and of course, we know now that the ongoing conflict in the Middle East has really divided a lot of people, has divided families, has divided opinions, it has divided people politically, but most importantly, even religiously, people have been, having different views with regards to what's happening in the Middle East. But also, it's also important to note that the Jewish immigration dates centuries back. You would recall that in 1940, to be precise, should I say 1948, somewhere there, when the white supremacists established the apartheid regime, you would recall that at that time, the Jewish community were regarded as whites. So in other words, they were benefiting from the benefits that comes with being, white during that particular time of apartheid. So they had those benefits. But just to go back to your question, Anne, I've not seen that as yet. But what I've heard, essentially, it's views online about people with regards to this issue. As I've indicated, that it really has divided a lot of opinions in and around the country. But I've not seen hostility, to say the least.
But can you tell us who gave the order for the boycott of Jewish-owned businesses?
Well, there's no statement from government, and not official statement from government, but politicians, as they protest outside the Israeli embassy, they were calling for, for business to stop trading with Israel. In fact, the first one, it was Julius Malema, the leader of the Economic Freedom Fighters, who was essentially warning McDonald's, as you would remember, that there were talks that McDonald's is essentially, feeding the soldiers of Israel with food. They are essentially feeding them with food. So they were saying to them that they need McDonald's South Africa has 24 hours or a week or so to essentially distance themselves from what is happening in the Middle East. But also, the Secretary General of the ANC, that is Fikile Mbalula, he also called for these products to be boycotted. In fact, he also went as far as to say that they want to close the Israeli embassy in Pretoria. But also, and we're living in confusing time, because now also the Minister of Small and Medium Enterprises, when she was speaking, they had the awards last month. She said that she's glad that some of the supermarkets have now stopped putting Israel products on their shelves. So she says she's glad and she's happy that business is actually standing with government. But now the president comes to say that that should not happen. So it does confusing. It's very confusing. I guess these are politicians. They make promises, and at times they confuse us because they don't follow through the things that they promise. But it would seem like there's a little bit of division within the African National Congress with regards to this particular issue. And
do you foresee, or are you even seen a turn away from anti-Semitism, especially, of course, a friendlier shift in attitude towards the Jews or the Israelis since the president's announcement of that problem, or Islamophobia in South Africa?
Well, I guess, and the president realized that this would be a blow to the economy, given the fact that the economy is ailing, is essentially not doing well, high unemployment, the electricity is not making things easy for entrepreneurs, and business essentially not doing well because of all of these challenges that are facing the country. So he thought it's important that he meet with this Jewish community to essentially, assure them that the trading between the two countries will continue. And I guess that is a good thing for President Ramaphosa to essentially do that, given the fact that we cannot allow to stop trading, given the economy, how the economy is at, so we cannot allow ourselves to essentially stop trading with other countries. But again, and going back to your question, I don't think I've seen that. I've not seen hostility, but what I've seen so far, it's views from politicians, from people who have keen interest in what's happening in the Middle East. But I can tell you now that there are people who do not even care. They don't even know if there's a product on the shelf that comes from Israel. They don't care. They just want to get the product and use the product. So in other words, there are people who really don't care much about the issue that is happening there with regards to trade, to stopping the trading with Israel. But again, I think it was a good move from the president to essentially bring them on board to clarify this issue, because it was a bit confusing given the fact that the Secretary General of the ANC has been really loud about this issue, has been really calling for the closure of the Israeli embassy in South Africa, particularly in Pretoria.
But when you look at reactions from people, I mean, on the streets, as you go about and things that you hear, is there Islamophobia in South Africa?
No, surprisingly, I've not seen it, and I would lie. I've not seen it. I would not be doing my job if I say I've seen it. I've not seen anything like that. Again, going back to our conversation, I guess South Africa also is a Christian-dominated, country where there's still a lot of people, and in as much as there's lot of noise from the political side of things, where they essentially stand with the Palestine, particularly the likes of the economic freedom fighters and the African National Congress coming out to really stand with the Palestinians. Also, there's a huge number of people in South Africa who are still pro Israel. In fact, I was talking to my mom and asking her, and she says that she does not understand what's happening there. I tried to explain to her, but still, she said she's standing with Israel. So that just goes to show that there are people who are, regardless of whatever happens, they're still pro-Israel. I've not seen hostility towards the Jews, apart from politicians calling for trade to stop between South Africa and Israel.
All right, thank you very much, Innocent Samosa from South Africa, our correspondent. Thanks a lot for your contribution, as always, on Network Africa.
Thank you.
Still to come on the program. Dogs in Nigeria go traditional at Lagos Canine Festival. We're bringing you this interesting story and more, but that's in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, political and human rights groups have criticized the sentencing of prominent Tunisian activist and opposition figure Chema Issa by a military court. The court on Wednesday handed Mr. Issa a one-year suspended prison sentence for offending Tunisia's President Kais Saied. She was also found guilty of spreading rumors to harm public security and inciting soldiers to disobey the order. Amnesty International has termed Issa's conviction outrageous, adding that her case was brought by an increasingly repressive government that will stop at nothing to silence voices of dissent. Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch and Ms. Issa's party, the National Salvation Front, have also criticized her trial and sentencing by a military court, even though she is a civilian. And still outside the shores of Africa, the United Nations Climate Conference in Dubai has concluded with parties agreeing with the fossil fuels need to be replaced with clean energy and to reach global net zero by the year 2050. This is the first time the fossil fuels have been addressed in the climate talks, but critics are saying the language used is not far-reaching enough for parties to do their best to reduce emissions. In his address to the final plenary, COP28 President Dr. Sultan Al Jaber said that the agreement is only as good as its implementation and asked parties to take necessary steps to turn that agreement into actionable results. Our environment correspondent, Ayola Kasim, reports.
Outcome of the first global stocktake contained in document FCCPA/BA/CMA/2023/L.17. Hearing no objection, it is so decided.
After the applause comes the criticism. While it is the first time the COP is mentioning fossil fuel in 30 years, the text calls on parties to contribute to the global efforts to reduce emissions. Insiders say the word cause is seen as the weakest of all the terms to be used in the United Nations Thai Guide. On behalf of the Alliance of Small Island States, Samoa was first to voice their concerns.
Mr. President, on paragraph 28, we are exceptionally concerned that this does not do what we need. In subpara 28D, the exclusive focus on energy systems is disappointing. We are concerned that paragraphs 28E and H potentially take us backward rather than forward. In subpara E, we are being asked to endorse technologies that could result in actions that undermine our efforts. In subpara H, we see a litany of loopholes. It doesn't deliver on a subsidy phase-out, and it doesn't advance us beyond the status quo.
This stand draws ovation from delegates. Unfortunately, it is a little too late. The adopted text, known as the UAE Consensus, is different things to different parties. Some see it as a signal to the fossil fuel industry that its days may be numbered. In 30 years, the outcome mentioned fossil fuel for the first time, calling parties to triple renewable energy by 2030 and doubling energy efficiency.
It clearly reflects what the science says. To keep 1.5 degrees within reach, we have to urgently peak greenhouse gas emissions and reduce them by a minimum of 43% by 2030 and 60% by 2035. That is a goal that can keep us on track. The direction to triple renewable energy, double energy efficiency, phase down the unabated coal power, halt and reverse deforestation and degradation by 2030, and substantially reduce non-CO2 emissions by 2030 are all foundational to our efforts for the next 7 years and beyond.
But the adaptation text is weaker than previous versions, with few metrics or definitions, but a plan to get there over 2 years.
Early 2025, countries must deliver new nationally determined contributions. Every single commitment on finance, adaptation, and mitigation must bring us in line with a 1.5 degree world. Countries must prepare and submit their first ever biennial transparency reports by the end of next year.
Indeed, the real work starts after now. Many are leaving here knowing it is not the best deal.
To move the world in a just, equitable manner towards 1.5, the developed countries need to be more forthcoming in providing support to developing countries like Nigeria in the form of large-scale investments, technological transfers, capacity building, and funding.
Allow me, please, to declare the meeting adjourned.
So it's goodbye from Dubai. But while the focus has been on the phase-out of fossil fuel, there is no clear guideline on how the transition will be fairly funded and provides no clear support for the majority of the parties who need to scale up on adaptation. From Dubai Expo City, the venue of COP28, Ayola Kasim, Channels Television News.
And we're back here in Nigeria on a health initiative that concerns women globally. Cervical cancer affects thousands of women annually, and so recognizing the importance of HPV vaccines to combat the human papilloma virus, the Nigeria Solidarity Support Fund, the NSSF, is now raising awareness through the When Niger Youth Fest. Though this initiative, they aim to empower individuals, especially youths, to make informed decisions about their health and contribute to the overall well-being of the society.
It's a journey of celebration, advocacy and empowerment at the We Niger Youth Fest 2023. Launched by the Nigeria Solidarity Support Fund, NSSF, the initiative is a culmination of efforts to empower and upskill creative Nigerian youth through avenues like photography, literature, and video. Also at the core of the initiative is a global program celebrating the ingenious minds that have creatively raised awareness for the HPV vaccine, combating the human papillomavirus, which is a leading cause of cervical cancer.
The HPV vaccine is one of the preventive factors against cervical cancer, which over 12,000 women in Nigeria are diagnosed with, and over 60%, 8,000 of them, die annually. And these are figures that we know are grossly underrepresented because of the weak healthcare system that we have, because data is not giving such a prominent place or funded adequately, and we know that a lot more women are undiagnosed, untreated, and even the girls are unvaccinated when it comes to cervical cancer.
This year's campaign also brings together young individuals in a national video content creation contest themed We Naija Awareness to Action. These impactful videos will serve as advocacy tools, encouraging active participation in calling for essential healthcare improvements.
We're here to empower the Nigerian youths for health advocacy, using creative tools, using easy technology, using it to create awareness for health issues in Nigeria, health prevention, health treatment, and ways that we can improve health system in Nigeria. We don't want them to just raise awareness, we want them to galvanize action. So it's themed awareness to action, it's themed content creation to creating impact. We want them to create awareness that will lead to action, that will lead to a healthier Nigeria.
The We Naija Youth Fest is the platform for meaningful growth, empowerment, and economic upliftment. It is an initiative using the power of creative expression to address crucial health issues.
And finally on the program, I'm still in Nigeria. Dog lovers paraded their pets in traditional outfits at a canine festival in the commercial capital, Lagos. For organizers, it was a way to showcase the country's diverse culture and encourage pet ownership.
One of the aims of this dog festival is to foster national unity. Chief organizer of the fair, Jackie Idimogo, feels this is largely necessary to ease political tensions after a disputed presidential election in February exposed Nigeria's tribal fault lines, as voting was largely along ethnic lines.
Earlier this year, we had our elections where it seemed as if Nigerians wanted to pick sides because of ethnicity. Because of that, we decided to use Lagos Dog Carnival 2023 to celebrate the togetherness of Nigerians, to celebrate that Nigerians have different tribes, different, cultures, but we are still one.
The Lagos Dog Festival is an annual event that dog lovers look forward to, with a growing number of attendees taking extra measures to get their dogs ready for the event. 4-year-old Coco, Ilasa Apso, is one of the dogs whose owner took time to groom and fit her clothes, almost like getting one's daughter ready for a birthday party.
If it's for me and your daughter is also going for a birthday party, you also do her hair, make sure she has the best clothes, you make sure you prepare ahead of time, already picking the clothes over the weekend. So yeah, I want the same for my dog too, because this is my little princess. I want her to have the best outfit, the best dress, because she's a star, she needs to shine too, like every other dog that's there too.
Some of the dogs on show parading their outfits are Pomeranians, cane corsers, and huskies. Some of the dogs trotting away with prizes include Ilasa Apso, that wins the best dressed animal for its traditional Igbo attire and is crowned Wazobia King. Wazobia is a term that means come in the 3 major Nigerian languages, Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo. The festival is in its 5th year and has been attracting canine lovers in the mega city of Lagos.
Oh, we hope next year will be bigger for us canine lovers. But that's it on Network Africa for today. Thank you so much for watching. I am Ann Mwawade.